The perception role in consumer behavior. Every day, the consumer society confronts each individual with multiple temptations. Before the consumer decides or not to make a purchase, he must first perceive a new need. There are three categories of needs: generic needs, basic needs, inborn needs. To create these needs, the consumer must imperatively be exposed directly or indirectly to a stimulus. For example, an advertisement, a product, a showcase of stores, or items stored in memory. The stimulus must be able to hold the consumer's attention. It is possible that the information to which he is subjected does not interest him, because the characteristics of the stimuli do not correspond to those of an individual. If the stimulus catches the consumer's attention, he will treat it to understand, categorize, and interpret. The consumer gives meaning to the received messages that he analyzes. This process is called perception, or also called cognitive phase in the process of buying behavior. Perception is a spontaneous process of recognition. I see things around me, I am aware of these things, I can recognize them, and I am able to have an opinion. A process that activates consciousness and unconsciousness. Perception refers to how a subject receives the outside world through the senses. Every perception begins with a sensation. At first, we have sensation, and after, the form or ideas. The five senses of the individual must capture his attention and encourage favorable purchasing behavior. We also talk about sensory marketing. The view, with the colors, the shop lighting, the hearing, with slogans, jokes of pub, the smell, Lush, Abercrombie, where stars are over perfume, touch, with phone, taste, like the taste of food in the market. For example, the sensation of the smell of the table, its touch, its color, and its shape add to each other until constituting the perception of the object. Thus, perception is the result of bodily experience. It is part of the logic of the living. It is influenced by vital and biological function. But it is not limited to sensitivity because it also implies a reflexive work. Perception equals sense plus intellect. The problem of perception is the appearance. If we do not see the good thing, we will see the appearances of things and not the things itself. These appearances can become illusions. We could say that perception is already a judgment. What we see, our mind unknowingly translates it. The optical illusion allows to understand the unconscious work of the mind. In an illusion, we believe see something, which in reality does not exist. Perception is therefore at the crossroads of sensation and judgments. It connects our senses and our own reflection on them. In addition, perception can be double. According to the angle of perception, I will see things differently. Thus, two people exposed to the same information on a product can establish very different opinions of the products. Therefore, they will have different attitudes towards the products. There is a dimension of subjectivity in perception. Offsets between two perceptions cannot be called an error. Both perceptions are legitimable. Recognizing the complexity of the phenomenon allows businesses to communicate more effectively to their customers. Each will interpret a shape, a color, a word, or a symbol according to the elements stored in its memory, its value, or its culture. For example, the black color will represent the morning in Europe. A woman dressed in white diamond will be identified as a bride. A smooth flower on a blue background will evoke royalty. This explains that ambiguous images will be interpreted very differently according to individuals and their cultural references, or simply according to their prior knowledge. The decoding of message can also be perceived according to interest and implication of each one. We're talking about situational perception. For example, a pregnant woman will consistently perceive advertisements for childcare accessories that she had not seen, not perceived before her pregnancy. We often associate perception and knowledge. Indeed, everyone will select information based on what they already know. For example, if we easily recognize or even complete a familiar stimulus, thus the big drinker Coca-Cola see or perceive the brand of Coca even in the word Pepsi is written. Indeed, they have been exposed multiple times to elements of mark and it's strongly present in their memory. Our perception are formed from different elements. Items stored in memory, including the opinion of the product or brand, influence the interpretation of the message. Thus, if someone sees a garment of a brand that he likes, particularly worn by a person, he has a very negative opinion. It may negatively affect his opinion and perception of the brand. That is why opinions and attitudes are very stable and difficult to evolve. Indeed, everyone will tend to perceive and interpret information in a consistent way with this value, self-image, knowledge, and cognitive resources. Emotion also play an important role in the perception and interpretation of information. For example, campaigns to fight hunger around the world are sometimes shown with malnourished children. These images generate very strong emotions. Research has shown that these highly emotional messages are considered more relevant and generate a stronger commitment than purely informational messages. However, when the message generates negative emotions, the message will not be perceived or misunderstood. For example, fear in some public health campaign. The job of marketing manager is very important. We must not think it is enough to expose a message for this one to be understood. A lot of elements in this message have to be taken into account if we want the consumer or potential customer to understand the message, be seduced, and buy the product. However, the question of ethics arises in certain commercial practice. Perceptions play a crucial role in marketing and ultimately in consumer behavior. Marketers know that it can have a big gap between the message they want to send and the message that is really perceived by the consumers or potential consumers. The challenge is to know what do we do with content of message, how to transform elements of perception into an acquaintance. What are the errors that slip in perception and therefore to avoid? If you thought you were master of yourselves, you know now that you are wrong. So how much are we manipulated?